The bank manager's office had thick carpet that swallowed sound. I sat in the leather chair across from Mr. Peterson's desk, my phone recording in my pocket like he'd instructed 3 weeks earlier. Mom's fingers flew across the tablet screen, authorizing the transfer. Dad stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder, both of them facing away from me. "There," Mom said, satisfaction thick in her voice. "That takes care of it." Mr. Peterson's computer screen lit up red. Not the normal banking interface. Something else. His eyes met mine for just a second, and he gave the smallest nod. "Mrs. Chen," he said carefully, "I need to verify something. That transfer, you're moving funds from your daughter Lily's trust account to your joint checking?" "Yes." Mom didn't even look up. "It's our money anyway. We set up the trust." "Actually," Mr. Peterson said, his voice shifting from cordial to steel, "your late mother-in-law Helen Chen established this trust 18 years ago, with explicit instructions that only Lily could access the funds upon turning 21. He pressed a button on his desk phone. "Security, please come to my office." Dad's head snapped up. "What? No, we're her parents. We have legal authority. You have custodial authority, Mr. Chen," which ended the moment Lily turned 21 last month. Mr. Peterson swiveled his monitor. The red alert screen showed the transfer and the automatic freeze that had activated. "You just attempted to steal $750,000 from your daughter. In front of me. On camera." Mom's face drained of color. "This is a mistake. You were just committing wire fraud, embezzlement, and breach of fiduciary duty." 2 security guards entered, followed by a woman in a sharp suit. "This is Detective Morrison from the Financial Crimes Unit. She's been waiting in the conference room." I still hadn't said a word. Just watched my parents' world collapse in real time. Detective Morrison held up her badge. "Mr. and Mrs. Chen, I'm placing you under arrest for attempted grand larceny and wire fraud. You have the right to remain silent. The words echoed in that sound swallowing. Carpet as handcuffs clicked around my parents' wrists. Mom was crying, makeup running down her face. Dad kept trying to catch my eye, his expression shifting from shock to anger to desperation. "Lily," he said as the guards led them toward the door. "Lily, you can't let them do this. We're your parents. We raised you. You owe us." "I don't owe you anything," I said. My first word since we'd entered the bank. "But you're going to pay me back every dollar you've stolen over the years. Every single one." The door closed behind them. Mr. Peterson exhaled slowly, then looked at me. "Are you all right?" "I'm perfect," I said, and I meant it. I was 7 when I first understood I was different from my cousin Brandon. My grandmother, Ba, we called her, had just died. Lung cancer. Fast and brutal. The funeral was enormous, hundreds of people, because Ba had been important. A professor. A researcher. A woman who'd escaped China with nothing and built an empire of knowledge and careful investments. At the reception, I overheard Uncle James talking to my dad. Mom left everything to the grandkids in trust funds. Brandon gets his at 25. Lily gets hers at 21. A pause. That's $750,000 each. Plus the house goes to them when they're 30. Dad's voice went tight. "Why does Lily get access earlier?" Mom said Lily would need it more. Said she saw how you and May treated her compared to Brandon. Uncle James's voice was careful. Mom was very specific about the terms. Ironclad. She used the best estate lawyer in the state. After that, things changed. Before Ba died, I was just the quiet granddaughter. After, I became a problem to solve. Mom started saying things like family resources should be shared and Ba didn't understand modern family dynamics. Dad began talking about irresponsible young adults and parental oversight. At 9, they told me Ba's house, the beautiful Victorian I'd spent weekends in, learning Mandarin and eating hand-pulled noodles, had to be sold to pay estate taxes. I was too young to know that made no sense. The house sat empty for 3 years, then sold the month before I turned 13. The money went into investments they'd managed for my benefit. I never saw a dollar. At 12, they pulled me out of the private school Ba had been paying for and enrolled me in public school. You need to learn resilience, Mom said. Private school makes kids soft, Brandon stated his private school. When I asked why, Dad said, Brandon needs a different environment. You're tougher than him. Translation: Brandon's parents had money. Mine wanted mine. At 14, I won a regional science competition. The prize included a $5,000 scholarship for summer programs. Mom made me decline it. You don't need special programs, she said. You can study at home. That summer, they took Brandon to Italy for 6 weeks. I stayed with a neighbor and worked at a dry cleaner for minimum wage. At 16, I applied for my driver's license. Dad said he couldn't afford driving lessons or a car for me. You can take the bus, he said. It builds character. 6 months later, Brandon turned 16. They bought him a used Accord and paid for professional driving instruction. When I asked why the difference, Mom said, Brandon's schedule is more demanding. You're more adaptable. At 17, I got a full scholarship to Northwestern, not a penny needed from them. When I told them at dinner, Mom's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Dad's jaw tightened. Brandon, who was visiting from his college 2 states away, congratulated me with genuine happiness. That's great, Lily, Brandon said. Northwestern's incredible. Mom recovered first. Full scholarship doesn't cover living expenses. Room and board, books, travel. She looked at Dad. We'll need to access some of Lily's trust funds to help her. Ba's trust doesn't work that way, I said quietly. I'd been reading the documents. Spending hours in the library studying trust law, estate planning, fiduciary duty. Only I can access it, and only when I turn 21. We're your parents, Dad said. We can petition the court. Ba anticipated that. The trust documents explicitly prevent parental access under any circumstances. I met his eyes. She knew you'd try. The silence at that dinner table was arctic. From that moment, I became the enemy. College was supposed to be my escape. It was actually 4 years of financial warfare. My scholarship covered tuition and a basic meal plan. For housing, books, supplies, emergencies, I was on my own. Most students got help from parents. I got nothing. Worse than nothing. I got sabotage. Freshman year, I applied for work study. The financial aid office called my parents to verify information. Mom told them we were a high-income household, that I had substantial family resources, and that I was playing poor for sympathy. My work-study application was denied. I had to prove my parents provided zero support. Required documentation, letters from my scholarship coordinator, bank statements showing no parental deposits. It took 4 months. By then, I'd maxed out a credit card buying textbooks and racked up late fees I couldn't pay. I got a job at a campus coffee shop. 30 hours a week, then added weekend shifts at a restaurant off campus. Then started tutoring. 45 hours a week while carrying 16 credit hours. I slept 4 to 5 hours a night. Drank so much coffee my hands shook. My roommate asked if I was okay. I lied and said yes. Sophomore year, I collapsed during an exam. Exhaustion and malnutrition, the campus doctor said. They wanted to call my parents. I begged them not to. The doctor looked at me for a long moment, then wrote patient declined emergency contact notification in her notes and gave me a list of food banks and campus resources. I used all of them. Took food from the free pantry, attended every campus event that served meals, learned which grocery stores put out day-old bread for free. I wore the same 6 outfits for 2 years. Bought a $40 winter coat from Goodwill that barely kept me warm during Chicago winters. Walked everywhere because I couldn't afford the train. Meanwhile, my parents bought a boat. I found out from Brandon's Instagram. He posted a picture, family day on the lake. My parents grinning in life jackets, standing on a 26-foot cabin cruiser. They'd bought an $85,000 boat while I was eating food bank crackers for dinner. Junior year, I stopped going home for holidays. Made excuses, too much work, too many shifts, couldn't afford travel. All true, but mostly I couldn't stomach watching them live in comfort I was locked out of. Brandon invited me to stay with him and his parents instead. Uncle James and Aunt Linda welcomed me, fed me, didn't ask invasive questions. "Ba would have hated this," Brandon said one night. We were in his parents' kitchen, making tea. "She set up those trusts because she knew your parents were like this. That's why mine is locked until I'm 25. She knew I had stable parents and didn't need it urgently. Yours unlocks at 21 because she knew you'd need escape velocity. 3 more years," I said. I was 18. 21 felt impossible. Senior year, everything accelerated. I got a research assistant position that paid better. Picked up freelance data analysis work. Started saving every possible dollar. Opened a bank account at a different institution than my parents used. Rented a safety deposit box for important documents. I was planning my extraction like a military operation. 2 weeks before graduation, Mom called. "We need to talk about your trust fund." "What about it?" "Now that you're about to graduate, it's time to discuss how those funds will be managed. Your father and I think I'll manage them myself." My voice was flat. That's what Ba intended. "Lily, you're too young to handle that kind of money. You don't understand investments, tax implications. I have a degree in economics, Mom. I understand perfectly." I did. I'd taken every finance course available, studied investment strategies, learned tax law. When I turn 21, that money is mine. "You have no legal claim to it. We're your parents. You owe us." "I owe you nothing." I hung up. Graduation was a week away. I didn't invite them. When they showed up anyway, I avoided them. Brandon found me hiding in a library building. "They're looking for you," he said. "They brought papers for you to sign." "What kind of papers?" "Something about giving them power of attorney over your trust." His face was grim. "Lily, they're planning something. Be careful." I was careful. So careful, but not careful enough. The trap was brilliant in its simplicity. 2 days after my 21st birthday, my parents called. "We'd like to take you to dinner," Dad said. "To celebrate. No strings attached. Just family." I should have said no. But some small, stupid part of me wanted to believe they could be normal for one meal. That maybe, impossibly, they'd grown or changed or developed shame. We met at an upscale restaurant. They were charming. Asked about my new job, I'd landed an analyst position at a consulting firm starting in 6 weeks. Talked about family memories. Mom even apologized, sort of. "We know things have been strained," she said. "We handled some situations poorly. But you're an adult now, and we'd like a fresh start." "That would be nice," I said cautiously. "To symbolize the fresh start, we'd like to help you properly set up your trust fund management," Dad said. "We've arranged a meeting with our bank manager tomorrow. Mr. Peterson at Fifth National. He specializes in trust accounts. Just to make sure everything's properly organized, tax optimized, all that." Every alarm bell in my head went off. But they seemed so genuine. So normal. And a tiny damaged part of me wanted to believe this could be real. "Okay," I said. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. At 2 a.m., I got up and searched Fifth National Bank Chicago Mr. Peterson. Found the bank's website. Found Mr. Peterson's profile, 30 years in trust management, glowing reviews, professional certifications. On impulse, I called the bank's after-hours customer service. "I have an appointment with Mr. Peterson tomorrow about my trust fund. Can you confirm that's in the system?" The service rep checked. "I see an appointment at 10 a.m. for Mr. and Mrs. Chen, but the account in question is ... That's odd." "What's odd?" "The notes say custodial transfer request. But the account holder is listed as, are you Lily Chen?" My blood went cold. "Yes. Then your parents are attempting to transfer custodial authority over your trust. But according to the dates here, you're 21. Custodial authority ended at 18 unless a court extends it. This doesn't make sense. Can you tell Mr. Peterson I'll be at that appointment?" "Of course, Ms. Chen." I showed up 30 minutes early. Mr. Peterson was a trim man in his 50s. Silver hair, kind eyes behind rimless glasses. "Miss Chen," he said, standing immediately. "I'm glad you called." "Please sit. My parents don't know I'm coming early. I assumed. He pulled out a thick folder. Your grandmother's trust. I handled the setup 18 years ago. Helen Chen was a remarkable woman. She anticipated ... double quotes. He paused. She anticipated your parents might attempt something like this. She left very specific instructions. What kind of instructions? If anyone attempts unauthorized access to your trust before or after your 21st birthday, I'm to document it, contact authorities, and ensure you're fully protected. He opened the folder. She also left you a letter. To be given to you if this situation arose. He handed me an envelope, Ba's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. My dearest Lily, if you're reading this, your parents have tried to take what's yours. I'm sorry. I hoped I was wrong about them, but I prepared for this possibility. The money is yours alone. I earned it through hard work and careful planning, and I gave it to you because I saw your strength, your intelligence, your resilience. You will need it to escape, to build a life they cannot touch. Do not give them mercy they don't deserve. Do not let guilt manipulate you. You owe them nothing. They chose greed over love. That is their tragedy, not yours. Mr. Peterson has instructions to help you. Trust him. And Lily, live freely. Live joyfully. Be everything I knew you could be. With all my love, Ba. I couldn't speak. Mr. Peterson handed me tissues, gave me time. What are the instructions? I finally asked. To protect you completely. And to document any theft attempts for legal prosecution. He pulled out a recording device. With your permission, I'd like to record today's meeting. If they attempt fraud, we'll have evidence. You'll call the police? Detective Morrison is waiting in the conference room. She's been briefed. If your parents attempt unauthorized transfer, she arrests them immediately. I thought about Ba. About every missed birthday, every time I went hungry, every moment I was told I wasn't worth investing in while they bought boats and took vacations. About the $85,000 boat. About being told I was adaptable while Brandon got driving lessons. Do it, I said. Record everything. My parents arrived 20 minutes later, all smiles. They didn't notice the recording device. Didn't notice Mr. Peterson's professional coldness. Didn't notice me sitting perfectly still, phone recording in my pocket as backup. And then Mom said it. Family comes first. You don't deserve it anyway. And the red alert lit up Mr. Peterson's screen. And Detective Morrison walked in. And I watched my parents get arrested for trying to steal my future. The fallout was nuclear. My parents spent 3 days in jail before they made bail $100,000 each, which they had to borrow from my uncle. Uncle James told me later he'd co-signed reluctantly, only because my aunt begged him to help her sister-in-law. But I told them, Uncle James said, that I expected to be paid back in full and that I no longer considered them family. Your grandmother was right about them. I should have seen it sooner. The criminal case took 8 months. During that time, my parents tried everything, called me dozens of times, blocked. Sent letters returned. Showed up at my new apartment in Boston. I called the police and got a restraining order. They tried to get Brandon to mediate. He refused and stopped speaking to them entirely. They hired a lawyer who argued they'd been confused about the trust terms and meant no harm. The prosecution brought Mr. Peterson's recordings, the bank's fraud documentation, and a digital forensics report showing my parents had researched how to access children's trust funds and breaking irrevocable trusts in the weeks before the attempted theft. They also found evidence of the Victorian house sale. My parents had received $340,000 from that sale money that was supposed to be held in trust for me until I turned 30. They'd spent it, all of it, on the boat, on vacations, on home renovations, on Brandon's private school and college expenses. The prosecution added embezzlement charges for that. Total theft, $1,090,000. My mother pleaded guilty and got 3 years in prison plus 15 years probation. My father went to trial, was convicted on all counts and got 5 years plus 20 years probation. Both were ordered to pay full restitution plus interest and legal fees. They'll be paying it back until they're 79 years old. Brandon and I inherited the restitution plan. Every month, $2,400 gets garnished from their wages and split between the house sale, repayment, and the trust fund repayment. At their current pay rate, Dad works at a warehouse, Mom at a call center. After her release, it'll take them 37 years. I'll be 58 when the debt is cleared. They'll be in their 80s. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty. Then I remember the food bank crackers. The 40-hour work weeks while taking 18 credit hours. The Goodwill coat that barely kept me warm. The way I collapsed during an exam because I was malnourished and exhausted. They chose this. Every single day, they chose greed over their child. I'm sitting in my Boston apartment now, 5 years after the bank meeting. Floor-to-ceiling windows look out over the Charles River. The consulting job turned into a senior analyst position, then a manager role. I'm 36 months into an MBA program fully funded by my employer. My trust fund, what's left of it after legal fees, sits in a diversified portfolio managed by Mr. Peterson's firm. I visit Chicago quarterly for investment review meetings. Mr. Peterson has become a mentor. Your grandmother would be proud, he told me last month. You've built something remarkable from very little. Brandon visits next week. He graduated law school last year, specializes in estate planning. Ironic, he jokes, but I want to help people protect assets from family members like our parents. He's never touched a dollar of his trust fund that wasn't earned. When he got access at 25, he immediately donated $100,000 to scholarship programs for students from dysfunctional families. I haven't spoken to my parents in 5 years. They've sent letters from prison, then from their tiny apartment after Mom's release. All the same themes. We're sorry, we made mistakes. We're family. You're being cruel. We deserve forgiveness. I burn them unopened now. Some people say I should show mercy. That they're my parents, that they're suffering, that holding grudges only poisons me. A coworker once said, "Don't you think you're being too harsh?" They made a mistake. I showed her the bank security footage. Showed her my mother's face as she said, "You don't deserve it anyway." Showed her the receipts for the $85,000 boat, the $340,000 house sale, the Italian vacation while I was eating food bank crackers. She never brought it up again. My apartment has a small balcony. I keep Bea's letter framed there, next to a photo of us from when I was 6, her teaching me to make dumplings. Both of us laughing, flour everywhere. Next to that is my final Northwestern grade report, 3.94 GPA, summa cum laude. Despite working 45 hours a week, I earned every bit of that. Built my life from nothing while they tried to take the one thing meant to give me a foundation. Banu. She saw their greed 18 years before I did. She built a fortress around my future, and when they tried to breach it, the fortress crushed them. I don't need their apology. I don't need reconciliation. I don't need them. I have Brandon. I have Uncle James and Aunt Linda. I have Mr. Peterson and Detective Morrison, who still checks in quarterly to ask how I'm doing. I have colleagues who respect me, and a career I built through pure stubborn determination. I have Ba's letter reminding me I'm worth fighting for, and I have peace. Every morning, I wake up in this apartment I pay for, with a job I earned, with a life I built from rubble and rage. I drink coffee and watch the sunrise over the river, and I know they can't touch me anymore. The trust fund is mine. The future is mine. The peace is mine. They gambled on my silence and lost everything. If you've ever been the child whose inheritance was seen as family money, the one who was told you don't deserve what was given to you, the one whose relatives treated your resources as their backup plan, know this. You don't owe them access. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them anything. Protect what's yours. Build your fortress. Let them face consequences. Ba built me a future. I protected it. And now I'm living it, free and clear. They chose greed. I chose me. And that made all the difference. If you've experienced financial abuse from family, share your story below. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about boundaries, justice, and breaking free.